Hey guys, Nick Drossos, and welcome to another episode of Have the Balls to Talk About It. And this week we got back Haas the Boss. He was on an episode almost 3 years ago, and we were talking about living through COVID. You were in a depressed moment, dark moment. Business was going bad. I remember you were taking a heavy hit back then, and we talked about it. And obviously things are back to normal, much better now. So I wanted him to come back and talk a little bit about that moment and how we got out of it, as well. Talk about the life of an entrepreneur, of a dad, and managing all that together. So Haas the Boss, thanks for coming back on Have the Balls to Talk About It.
Thank you, sir.
So I remember that episode. You were in a dark place. You were, going through depression, or you found out you were depressed on the show, and your business was kind of falling apart. What was happening in that moment?
Well, it's the time that they shut everything down.
Yeah.
And, I'm not used to not working. I'm not used to being what to do. That's one thing that I hate, especially it's against what I believe. And that was happening, and employees were dropping like flies. They were giving out money. So then all the reps that were on the road didn't want to come back anymore, to a point that reps would say, well, it's better not to work than to work X amount of hours with you, because then I lose that money that I get from the government. That really hurt. And, when you see something that you build over the years suddenly crumble, when things were on top, on point, everything was fantastic.
Like you worked so hard to get to there, and suddenly you see it falling apart.
Yeah. And that was, I was depressed. I don't know what to do. And I'm not used to not doing anything.
Yeah.
And, I always say the example of if you take a 2-month vacation, it's the worst thing you could do to yourself, because then you don't want to come back. If you take a week and then you come back, you take 2 weeks, you come back. When you take 2 months and you start getting lazy, you start getting that, vacation mode sticks to you.
That's true.
And COVID really caused that, 3 months of doing nothing. Then what do you do?
And what changed after? So you went through a hardship with your business, and then how did you bounce back from everything?
I think it's an advice I got years ago, and it stuck, which was, if you complain about something once, the second time, or do something about it, or shut the fuck up.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. As simple as that.
And I didn't want to be that guy that just nags all the time, So I put my big boy pants on and start over again.
And you started from scratch, or you
felt like it? Yeah, you feel like you started over scratch. There's maybe 3 that stayed. Everything else is new. Everybody else is new. Every staff is new. Every employee is new. Everything changed.
Imagine you probably had to go back and hustle like in the beginning. Probably.
Yeah. As if nothing was done the last 14 years before it happened.
And now, in terms of your businesses, where are you at? I know you're doing coaching. I see you have multiple businesses. What are you focusing on now?
Obviously, the core is still my telecom business.
Okay.
And through that, I've done many businesses and, failed at some and sold some. And now I'm into coaching. I like to help other entrepreneurs or somebody who wants to start a new business. I love that, because everything you learn through the years, through the businesses too. And the other thing is a marketing company. I always loved marketing.
That's my passion.
There you go.
Stuff.
I had 2 of them, 2 companies. Now it's the 3rd one. And I love it. When you love what you do, it's just easy to show people and then come up with ideas. And
I think that's the core of everything. And I tell that to my son, is that pick a profession that you're going to love. You're going to be passionate. You're going to want to wake up every day and don't think of the money. The money will eventually come, right? And start somewhere. Don't aim to start at a perfect moment. It's never perfect. You just get good as you do it, right? Yeah. And you just keep. And again, I think the baseline to all success is showing up every day, whether you feel like it or whether you don't, whether you just show up and work your ass off. Like that's one of the baselines, I believe.
Yeah,
is
I
the
agree.
core to. And I love the startup ideas. That's the whole creative process of it is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But now you have 2 kids, married. How do you manage all that?
There's one thing I always say to compare, so people can understand how you put importance on something in your life. When I'm actually coaching someone, usually people are all over the place. I was supposed to do this, I didn't do it, and you do it 3 days later, or you do it a week later. And it's okay if you have a doctor's appointment. 6 months from now. Is it in your calendar?
Good point.
They're like, yeah. Okay, so that's important enough to be in your calendar, but you're not. Your business is not. Your kids are not.
Good point.
Book it. If you don't book it, it's because it's not important for you.
Good point.
And that's how I do it. That's how I do things. Like, let's say I thought that our today was next week. It was scheduled already.
Yeah.
Knowing that next week I'm not going to book anything during that time because it's important. I said I would do it with you.
Yeah.
I do it. So for my kids, same thing. Like even let's say every day I bring them to school. It's still in my calendar every morning, bring kids to school. I don't take it out because, well, I have to bring them to school. I know it anyways, right? It's still there. I cannot double book anything because it blocks it.
So your time management, and I believe that is super tight.
Yeah.
It has to be when you're managing so many things at the same time.
It is. That's how I would say it. Like prioritize things and book it. I always book everything in.
I also say one thing I've done, I've put a scale of importance to everything, right? And before I go out with my friends, which I don't really go out much, to be honest with you, before I do that, it's because everything else is done, right? So I think that's also a good way to, when you're very clear with your values and what's important, and then when you put your schedule, you like training is like second or third on my list of important things that I have to do, right? So when you're clear with that, then you also know how to like put all the blocks together, you know?
Yeah. I think it was, I was 18 years old, 19 years old, my first management position, you know, and what they taught me, I loved it. It was you take a book, you write down everything you have to do today. Yeah. There was an A, B, and C. So A was non-negotiable, had to be done today.
Oh, that's good.
B was you do your best to do it today. C was if I don't get it done today, it doesn't matter, do it tomorrow.
That's a good one. Yeah.
But the next day, I have to rewrite everything that I didn't do. So when I would see something repeat itself twice or three times, like, okay, I got to get to it because I'm not getting it done now.
That's a good one. That's the first time I hear that one, but it makes sense, right? Because then if it's repeating, it's like, okay, I got to get this shit done.
Yeah, I'm getting fed up with writing it too again the next day. I'm like, okay, let me get it done so I don't have to write it again, let's say on Wednesday at this point. That's what I like.
What I do is actually, I have different notepads for every like business and thing, like separate. And so my fitness, my online, my podcast, and they each have different like to-do lists separate. So like this in my mind, I'm always shuffling them around because if I put them all together, I see. And then I have, what I do is normally on Sunday, I plan my week. And the night before, it's like, okay, tomorrow I go through my schedule. So I tell people, never wake up thinking, okay, what do I do? And just wing it. Because you waste a lot of time fast when you're thinking you're just going to wing it. And I think it's probably one mistake entrepreneurs do. They think they could wing their way out of making it.
Yeah.
And I don't think you're just going to spin your wheels, you know? How do you do it with the kids? How often do you see them? Because that's one thing as an entrepreneur.
Well, it's from, it's 17 years now I'm in business.
Yeah.
It was very different. At the beginning, I never saw my son. My wife had to bring my son to the office for me to see him because I would leave at 6 a.m. I was back home at 9 p.m., 10 p.m. Now it's different because, when your life is set up properly, then I have time. Like I bring him to school. I pick him up from school. So I have time to see them. And then there's still, some aspects of the, let's say, twice a week, I don't see them much because I'm busy. It's scheduled that, Tuesdays and Thursdays, it's my time after work hours to meet other clients. Yeah. So let's say Thursdays, I don't see the kids. I get home like at midnight.
But the sacrifice you must have made at the beginning, because I know I made them too. And I think that's what it's hard because any dad, I believe, that's going to start a business, he's going to have to sacrifice at some point where you're not going to see your kids as much. And did you feel bad for that? Like
at first, but I think that's as a parent, as a new father, it's your thing. You're like, I kind of want to not see the kids. I got to see them. Yeah. And when I actually meet people now that have, let's say, a year or 2 year old, and they're saying, I got to see my kid. I'm like, listen, it's better you don't see him now.
You know what? You nailed it. I know where you're
And you get to be with him when it's important. You think he remembers at 1 that daddy showed up at 10 o'clock at night? Yeah. Doesn't remember. So no, I didn't feel guilt. I felt guilt because I missed him.
Yeah, same thing.
And then it felt like a bit unfair because I didn't see my son till 2, let's say. And then my daughter was born and immediately I had time to stay home because business was set up properly. So I had more time with my daughter than my son. But again, he doesn't remember when he was 1 or 2. How much did he see?
But I think it's amazing. I think dads need to know there's a sacrifice that we make. Yeah. And I did it. I remember when my son was born, I was working at the hospital. I was building my personal training business. I was starting to I was doing 2 jobs. 5, 6 a.m. to like 9 p.m. I barely saw him. And on the weekends, I was also working so much trying to build everything. But today I look at it and I'm like, you know what? And it's interesting because he's 15 now, like about the same age as yours. he understands the sacrifices that I did. And now he knows that, well, every year we can go to Greece. Anything he needs, he comes to me. He knows that we have a comfortable life because of the sacrifices that I made. And I mean, that's the fun part, you know what I mean? But I mean, I guess to the dads, when you're going through it, you're like, shit, you're kind of worried. Is he going to not see me enough? Am I a bad father? Am I not spending enough time with him? Is he going to grow up to, am I still going to be influential in his life? You know what I mean? So I think that's the tough part.
It's because we question each other too much, just do the best. There's no fucking script, right? How you're supposed to do it. Just be a good person, be there when it's needed.
How supportive was your wife? Because I mean, I think that's something too that, I mean, I've seen so many people get divorced lately. And one of the things I hear is like, oh, he works too much or he's not there. And there's always this pressure sometimes. And I lived it. Honestly, I did. I got, always told you're never home, you're not there. I'm raising the kid. And I'm like, well, I can't, work and be the only one who's working and provide for everybody and be there. Like, it doesn't add up the math with what we need. And it did put stress on my relationship. And I mean, I won't say it's the cause of divorce, but I would probably say one of them. But I mean, it's a sacrifice that sometimes men have to do. So how was it in terms like for you going through that?
Well, I got lucky, first of all.
Yeah. That's thing, man.
But I grew up with my dad working and my mom being home. Yeah. So I wanted to replicate the same thing. Yeah. And my wife was not a wife that wanted to stay home. She wanted to work. And this was a talk we had right before she got pregnant. Yeah. And I said, listen, I really want you to stay home. I'd rather you raise him than a daycare. I'd rather you raise him than, and she didn't want. And she got pregnant. And as soon as she gave birth, they get that year off. Yeah. She changed her mind. She said, okay, I'll do it.
Stay home, yeah.
So the balance was easy for us because, listen, I understood what my position is in the relationship. And she understood hers. Yeah. And obviously, there is ups and downs, and sometimes there is misunderstanding. How come you're never home? It happens. Yeah. But I think if we all understand what the end goal is and that we're both working to get to the same part, then it worked out. I'm lucky that, I say it every time I go somewhere, and I was like, oh, how do you do it? So I'm lucky I have a good wife, because if Tanya was a pain in my ass, that extra stress, if you're not home or if you are home, it's not going to work out. And that's why I don't think it's part of your issue, what you had. I think it's the main issue that you had, because if you had the right partner,
absolutely,
nothing would work, But I always said, I've said it on other podcasts that women are crazy. They're all crazy. Which one can I handle? Yeah. Which craziness am I okay with? Because it's not as if I'm the best thing in the world either. I'm a pain in the ass too. And I guarantee you, a lot of people cannot handle me the way my wife handles me, because she têtu, I'm hard-headed. Yeah. When I want something, I'm 100% into it. Yeah. I'll disappear for months until everything is done, and I'm come back, okay, I'm done, But she has to handle me too as much as I handle her. So I think I just got lucky. That's the truth.
I think it's interesting we talk about that, because I think, I know we say it, a woman could make you or break you. She could sink your ship so quickly, no matter how, and that quote behind every, any successful man, there's a successful, like a good woman. Mm. I was like, how true is that? And I'm lucky now I have an amazing partner. And now I know what it is to have a partner. And I see everywhere that I'm already going, I would have went. But with a good partner, it goes easier, it goes faster, it goes like I'm getting there with so much more ease and support, to know that there's always somebody there that is, again, just supporting me through. And the same for me as well. You know what I mean? And I think, again, for the dads watching, it's hard when, and I remember working a lot, coming back home, and then my ex-wife, complaining. And it's like, I worked all day. That's the last thing I want. All I want to hear is, how was your day? Are you okay? Like, do you need something? You know what I mean? And I know for her, it's also, if you're a stay-at-home mom, it's also work. It's not easy. No. But it's a partnership, you know what I mean? So, I mean, I think it's as long as both people are very clear with almost what they're each bringing to the table, then it should be good, Yeah.
Peace is what you're looking for.
Oh, my God, peace.
Yeah. I still have the same conversation. What are you looking for? Peace. That's what I want. Yeah. Leave me alone. Let me be.
Especially as we get older. We don't have time for
yeah.
drama. Like, I mean, that goes for across the board. Men, women, we're like, too much drama. Like, here, take a shit, get out.
Yeah. But what's funny is that when I was 20, I would say young, when I was 20, and I had like friends that were older, I said, oh, you'll see Haas. Eventually, you have no patience for nobody. You're very selective. Are you fucking crazy? I love everybody. And then as I'm getting older, your circle gets so small.
I'm the same way too.
I want to be happy.
Yeah.
No bullshit. No.
Cut people out quickly. How do you do that with people? Like, how do you manage?
You have that. We all get that feeling, that gut feeling that something's wrong. Most of the time we drag it too long. I don't drag it anymore.
Me too. I don't. Now I'm like, and you know, it's kind of, I wish you the best, just from far. You know what I mean? I wish you the best. Even if you did something bad to me, I'm like, you know what? It's all good, man. Just get out. I don't even have time. I don't even bother explaining myself anymore to people. I don't. It's like, I don't even want to sit there and tell you know what you did. I'm like, it's all good, man. Just click, get out. And sometimes people are like, how can you do that? It's like, man, I'm 47. You know, the most precious thing in the world is time. My currency is time. I don't want to waste it. I'm not going to waste it with anybody that I don't value, that I just, don't value that time that I want to spend trying to explain myself and trying to make up stuff that, you know.
Yeah.
I think it's a thing, like you said, as we get older.
Yeah.
I'm scared when we're going to be like 60, we're going to be like, Haas? Sorry, man, click.
But it's funny because my wife says to a point that I'm an asshole. I'm like, why am I an asshole? Because you don't give a shit. I said, I don't.
Yeah.
Why am I going to waste my time sitting down with you when there's something I don't like about you?
Yeah.
Why am I going to hang around?
Good point.
Next.
And you see a lot of people take that like you're an asshole or a bad person, or that you're either you're arrogant, or you're like you're a know-it-all, or you think you're like your shit doesn't stink. And it's like, no, man, I just don't have time for this. Yeah. You know what I mean? If you have time to like argue and fight and be toxic, I wish you the best, just not around me, you know?
Yeah. I think there's also like, there's levels in your life.
Good point.
You know what I mean? At 20, a lot of things are okay.
Yeah.
At 30, there's things that you were doing at 20 just don't match who you are anymore.
Good point.
Then at 40, like, well, whatever I was doing at 30 doesn't match my vibe anymore.
Good point.
But it doesn't mean that your vibe is wrong. It just doesn't match mine.
Yeah, good point.
You know? I see a lot of guys that's in clubs.
Yeah. Oh my God.
I'm like, fuck. What are you doing?
Yeah,
in my head's like, what are you doing? You're 44, man.
Yeah.
Get the hell out, go home. Yeah. You know? But if it's his thing, it's cool. I'm just not going to hang out with you. I'm not going to come to a club, to a supper club, because, I don't know, you're having a bunch of your friends and we're friends too.
Yeah.
Oh, so let's go. No, it's not my thing. I'm just not coming.
I'll go out. I'll go to a restaurant. I'll do something. Like, I can't. I went out a few years ago, actually, and it was funny because it was, you know, the champagne. I never go out. They're like, Nick, come out. I'm like, okay, let me go out. You know, it was a champagne and the show. Like, I was back 20 with the thing, and I was like, I'm sitting there. I'm like, I'm just thinking, I want to go home. I'm like tired. The music is too loud. There's too many people. I'm thinking, okay, I want to like go home and write my script. I'm working. Like, it was like really not my vibe. I don't give a shit about impressing the people there and who know me and how much money. It was really, I just wanted to go home. I would have spent a better night just with my girlfriend watching a movie. And I'm happy. People say, oh, this is boring. Yeah, I have a boring life. But guess what? It's good. It's quiet. I'll take that boring life. You know what I mean? But at 20, I was the first one to go to the club, gel the hair. I was like preparing like Saturday at 2 p.m. I was getting ready for like, you know, to go out at night. It's interesting how we look back. I'm thinking, shit, man.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just where you are. You change, right? You evolve, and it's things you don't like anymore. And I met a guy that he had a building for sale, older man. And this guy set me up so I can go have lunch with him before it goes on the market. 80 some odd year old, you know? So I was talking to him, and he's like, well, what do you do right now? So I buy buildings and fix them up and rent them higher. So what are you selling? And it was like I said, it was a 5-plex, and he was asking a bit too high for the revenue it had. And listen, it's not for me. He goes, listen, let me tell you something, Haas. He goes, I had 200 doors at a point. These are my last 5 left. I'm selling it because I'm leaving to go to Italy. So, okay, he goes, maybe it's not for you. Well, since it's not for me, this one. I said, give me one advice. He's like, what do you mean? I said, well, all these years, who knew that you had 200 doors? Yeah. Give me an advice. What did you learn through all this? Yeah. And it's what I told you. He said, you know what? At your age, I had the energy to do what you want to do, which is go in, gut it out, redo it, rent it higher, and then maximize. Because at my age, You don't want that. You want something stable. He goes, yeah, I know the rents are low.
Yeah.
But I don't need more rent than that. He goes, but they stay for 10 years. They stay for 15 years. He goes, versus yours, it's what? Every year, every 2 years they change? I said, yeah. He goes, okay, I don't have the energy. But he said, at your age, because I'm pretty sure I have even more energy than you. It's like, so at a life, at a level in your life where you're at, your priorities and your needs change.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think since he said that, I see it more and more through friends or connections that you have, how they live versus how you live. You're like, oh, okay, wait, I did that though. I passed that. I'm not there anymore. And it has nothing to do with how old I am, because I could be 40 living something that a 20-year-old lives because I didn't live it.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, you also see the opposite too as well. You're right.
It's like, no, you know what? I did my share. This is where I'm comfy at now, and this is where I'm at.
I think that's interesting what you said. I think part of like growing up, like I worked in clubs, I was a promoter. I feel like I got all of that cool stuff out of my system. You know what I mean? I don't have that middle-aged crisis in me, right? Because I took it all out. Yeah. So I'm like, that's why I'm at a place now where I'm like so comfortable at my age. And I think it's interesting what you said, because for me, as I'm getting older, I look at time and it's crazy. And I say, okay, I got maybe 30 more years left, strong years, 47 till 77. After that, what am I going to do? Go climb mountains? Go do what, right? Like, I'm probably going to want to, like, I don't know, go to the gym, sit on a rocking chair, watch a movie, do some light stuff. I'm not going to have the energy I have now. So I go right now for me, and I say this to men, in your 40s is crunch time. If you're sitting and sleeping on the switch now, time is going to go by. And the more time goes by, the less... Not that you're not going to have you won't have the same energy any way you look at it.
Like, I feel it. I see it.
Yeah, you still have the energy, but we don't have the 20, 30-year-old energy where, you could go to bed at 4 a.m. and then, 4 hours later, you're at the gym, like ready to go or like take on anything, you know? Now, if I eat too late, I get acid reflux. 2 a.m, I'm like drinking water. I'm like, I can't eat late anymore. Like I eat like at 4, 5 p.m., 6 max.
I went to see a client yesterday. I'm like, oh, you changed. You look younger. What'd you do? Because I lost a lot of weight. He goes, I eat right. I work out. Because as I'm aging. I said, yeah. He goes, before you see at 11 o'clock and go to bed. So he goes, if I eat at 9 o'clock, he goes, acid reflux at night. I'm freaking, because I wake up, I'm dying. Like, I feel your pain.
It's crazy, like you said, huh? That's really, man, getting old. And that's why I think too we have to respect our bodies as we get older and our minds and be honest with what we could do. And I always say this doesn't mean you can't do what you used to do. You just gotta manage it differently.
Mm-hmm. Well said.
Or else, like, I'm like, even like drinking, I can't. If I have like 1 glass of wine, I'm like, the whole room is because I don't drink anymore. Like 1 or 2, I'm like, I'm like 9 o'clock, I'm in bed, you know what I mean? So it's, I don't know, but I'm enjoying the age, the wisdom that we got over the years. You're 40, you're like, okay, if you haven't figured out by now, I feel like, yeah, hurry up,
Yeah, I agree with you.
How many hours do you do a week now, like work?
Like I said, let's say Tuesdays and Thursdays, a lot, 16, 17 hours in a day.
Wow.
But I was always the kind of guy that I don't need much sleep.
For real?
Yeah. If I go to bed at midnight, 1 o'clock, I'm up at 5:30, 5 o'clock.
No way, it's like 4 hours of sleep.
Yeah, no alarm, nothing. It's just my body just wakes up.
And you're good,
I don't need it.
Yeah, you feel good.
And maybe once every few months, you'll catch me that I can't wake up anymore. And I'll go till noon on that day.
Yeah,
and there's no waking me up. Forget it. Don't even talk to me. Everybody knows. At home, oh, daddy's out. Let him be. And I wake up at noon, and it's as if that reset.
Yeah.
And as I'm getting older, the reset happens a bit quicker than before,
Okay.
I used to catch myself maybe every 3-4 months doing it, but now it's like maybe every 2 months, and I feel it. I'm like, oh, shit, today
I'm tired.
Not happening.
Well, it's good. You listen to your body then.
I do, yeah. I work a lot, but it's fun.
How many times a week do you train?
That's the part I'm guilty about, but it's an injury. I have a bad rotary cuff tear.
Me too, rotator.
Yeah. Oh my God. I refuse surgery. I don't want to get it. One, because of my heart, and 2, I think it's like 2 months or 3 months you can't drive.
Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff.
And I drive all the time, So that's the only, I can't lift my arm. It just hurts. So I did 2 cortisone shots, which I didn't want to do.
Yeah.
I pushed it off so much, but it's to a point I can't sleep with the pain.
Yeah.
So I got the shot, and then it just relaxes you. Which is much better, but then obviously I don't listen. don't lift heavy, don't do this. I do it, and immediately the pain comes back. Just have to figure out how to fix this part.
I mean, you could still go walking. You could,
but then it causes that laziness. Remember I told you about the vacation?
Yeah.
Like 2 months of no vacation and you don't want to work. Well, if I don't work out for just a few weeks,
it's consistency.
It's gone for me. Then I'm like, oh my God.
And that's the thing. And I say this to people is you got to put it in your schedule and you got to like make it a priority. Just like, bringing your kids to school.
I put it as my C's. Remember the ABC?
Yeah, it's in there.
Working out became the C for me.
Yeah.
It's like, if I do it. And what's funny is talking about that is my daughter had boxing today.
Yeah.
It's only her second class, She comes out of school, gets in the car. Daddy, do I have to go today? I said, well, you do have to go because I called your coach to tell him to come earlier because I'm going to see Nick today to do the podcast. I said, you should go. I said, but I'm really tired. No problem. So I'm going to call him and cancel. But I'm telling you cancel one more time, Daddy's never taking you boxing again. No, okay, let's go. Let's go boxing. Because I know that
you're so
that's a horrible thing you could do.
Yeah.
You take a step back twice, you're done. You're not going to do it no more.
Yeah, it's tough. And I say it's that consistent part is the hardest one. And like you said, it's that ABC. I mean, I guess I do it. Like I was saying, I have levels where everything is, but my training is in 2 or 3 where it's like, okay, it has to be done. You know what I mean?
So you have a lot of A's. That's all.
Yeah.
Which is good.
It's interesting because I don't know if people are going to like what I'm going to say.
What?
My A is my work, even before my family. And I've said this before, and sometimes I wonder, is it wrong? Should it be my family? But I say everything with my son depends on me, right? So like when you're like the provider, that's the most important thing at the end, you know what I mean? Because everything depends on that pyramid, like paying for your son, your kids, paying their school, doing everything. So like my work always comes first, you know what I mean? And because again, I have that responsibility, financial responsibility, which is tough, especially when, I'm a weekend dad, so I got to admit I have it easy, right? That makes a difference. I only have my son on the weekends, but it's still like when I have him on the weekends, I say this to dads who are divorced, if you're a weekend dad, be the best weekend dad at least, you know what I mean? Spend that time. But during the week, at least I can focus on my work,
Yeah. But if people like or not what you're saying, they're not paying the bills.
Yeah, it's true, huh? As I'm saying at the end.
Who gives a shit?
Yeah, it's true. I always say that. You ain't paying my bills, so what you think is...
Yeah. We were on vacation, and I was on the phone on the beach, and I was pacing, And there's a guy came and see me, he tapped on my shoulder. He said, can I ask you something? I said, yeah, sure. He goes, what do you do? So I own a couple of businesses. Why? He's like, every day I see you pacing. Because by a certain time that you're pacing on the phone, you're here with your family. Yeah. I said, well, my family's here because I take these calls.
Nice.
He's like, oh, okay. He went to sit down. At the airport, he was on the same flight. He came to see me. Can I tell you something? I'm like, yeah. He goes, I'm sorry for what I said.
That's. But you know what? I love the answer.
Well, it's true. Because my original answer would be, fuck off. Like, what the hell are you?
But the
truth is that.
It's truth is that. You're right.
12 to 2, Nick, I was taking all my calls, all my texts, and returning the calls back. And I told my wife, from 12 to 2, don't bust my balls.
Yeah, I
got to do it.
But you're right. That's why those kids are there living that life on the beach, because you're able to do that. Yeah. But I think that's a classic. But I guess anybody who's not an entrepreneur will never understand that.
I agree.
And if you're not, I wasn't an entrepreneur. I was a 7 to 3:30 guy, right? Wake up, same time, finish at 3:30, come home, cut the grass, cook, there's benefits and drawbacks to everything. The benefit was, I knew what time I started, what time I finished. I had no stress, didn't have to think of anything. As an entrepreneur, after this, I'm going to go home, go on my laptop, I get emails. Somebody's going to tell me, the program doesn't work. This happened. Oh, yeah. And I'm like, and then you're not sleeping. Then you're thinking, waking up at 3 a.m. You're getting ideas. You're writing them down. Like your mind is constantly working. So but the beauty of being an entrepreneur, which I love and I would never exchange for anything, is having the freedom to be your own boss and do your own thing.
Yeah.
It's not for everybody. It takes a lot of thick skin. To me, I tell people it's a bipolar experience. I'm sure you've had it. I have a great idea. Next day is like, shit, it's not going to work. Wait, I think I can make it happen. Yeah. The next day, it's like, why did I do it?
I say it on the many podcasts. I said it. Entrepreneurs are bipolar people.
Yeah,
It's like, why? It's because sometimes I'm rich as fuck, sometimes I'm broke as fuck. Sometimes it's the same day.
Yeah, you just one day you're up and one day you're down.
Like, oh my God, can I even do this? And then the next day, like, my fucking blow out of the park. What are you talking about? You know? But no, it's not for everybody.
Yeah.
I've met a lot of people that worked somewhere and they did fantastic in life.
Yeah.
But it's good for them.
Yeah.
And then, I see some people that it's funny because I try to convince them to go into business and they're like, what's wrong with you? I'm like, what do you mean? You could do this. Like, no, I'm okay with 9 to 5 o'clock. I punch and I go home. So, okay.
As long as they're happy, it's not for everybody.
Exactly.
Right? But it's interesting because the one thing I noticed when I was planning to open my business, and this is something that I learned when you go to advice, right? When I was planning to open my business and I was working at the hospital, when I asked the people at the hospital, they knew I was working on my business. They were all like, well, why? You have a government job, you have security, highest value security. When I spoke to guys like you, entrepreneurs, they're like, what are you doing there, man? Get out of there, open your own business. You have everything it takes. So each of them were giving me advice based on their highest values and what's most important to them. So I tell people, when you take advice, be careful who you're taking it from, because they're going to give you, based on what's most important, what they value the most, their advice, not necessarily what's best for you, but what's their most, like where their securities and insecurities come from.
Yeah. I would say that's advice from someone that is where you want to be.
Absolutely.
Or has done what you want to do.
Good point. Good point.
If Joe Blow tells me I shouldn't run this business because of this, and I'm like, oh, how many did you own? He's like, none. Get the fuck out of here.
It's funny because I've met people who don't have businesses, and sometimes they give me advice. They're like, oh, you should do this, you should do this, you should do that. And I'm like, have you ever owned a business? Like, no, you work like on a 9 to 5. So you understand the theory of running a business. You know, the actual application.
That's the reason why I started doing the coaching. I met someone that came to my office to give me advice.
For real?
Yeah, super nice guy.
Yeah.
I said, can I ask you a question? He's like, yeah. I said, how long is it you're doing this? He's like, what? This business? God, it's a year. Okay, what did you own before? Because I worked at a company. So you never owned a business like mine? He's like, no. How could you give me advice? It's like I could study every theory on boxing.
Yeah.
Get in that ring. You punch me in the face. Everything's out of the... It's gone.
Yes, I agree.
Business is the same way. You're getting punched every day. You're getting kicked every day.
Every day.
Can you handle it, or what are you going to do with it? If you haven't done it, you can't tell me what to do.
Absolutely.
I'm going to listen to you.
I remember when I started my business, I remember I started with a duffel bag, 2 mids, a TRX, and a shitbox car, like worth $2,000. And I started training clients. And I remember I went to one of the clients' house, big house in Hampstead, good $2-3 million house. I show up with my car at 6 a.m. He's walking his dog. My muffler has a hole. You can hear it from a block away coming. And he walks on. He's like, yeah, I heard you pull up. And I'm like, shit, I'm parking this fucking jalopy in front of this fucking $1 million house. And I'm like, this doesn't look good right now. I can't run a business and be taken seriously. And image counts. People look at that, right? So then I remember for almost a year and a half, I would park my car a block away from client's house and walk so they wouldn't see my car until I bought a car. Like winter, in a snowstorm, I'm walking, oh yeah, I parked it over there, yeah. And I used to make up stories just because I didn't want them to see. I was always well dressed, I had great equipment, but I didn't have. And I tell people that's some of the sacrifices I had to make. You know what I mean? And now it's over 10 years. I have my personal training and I expanded it to my self-defense, and I'm traveling and I'm teaching, I'm doing so many things. But the hard work that went behind it, I'm sure you and every entrepreneur I've met, no matter what you do, has a crazy ass story. I don't know anybody who opened the business yeah, it was very easy.
Yeah, exactly.
They all come out grayer, older.
Yeah, that's true. You're right.
And I say the ones who make it are the ones who stay in the game the longest. Most people just quit. I go, what makes me? I knew other people who wanted to do what I do. We started around the same time. Year 2 or 3, they quit. I just kept going, even when it was fucking hard. Even when I wasn't making money, I was just hammering away. And at the end, I just beat them because I stayed longer in the race. That's all really what it is.
That's true.
So,
Well said.
Guys, Haas the Boss. Haas, where can people find you if they want some coaching?
Instagram. I am Haas the Boss.
I am Haas the Boss, guys. I'll put the link in the bottom of the comment box if you guys want to reach out, Haas the Boss. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Leave us a comment. If you have any future ideas for episodes as well, put them right down there, guys. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next week.
Thanks, bud.